Well, welcome back everyone to another video here on my channel, and this video is going to be something a bit different. It's only going to be a short one for today, and it's something I've been wanting to talk about for a little while, so I thought I'll do its own little video, and it's purely on the topic of maximizing the quality of your frozen baits, which in my opinion leads to a much higher chance of having a better session when you're out fishing. Now I'm sure you guys would rather watch a video of me on the beach catching fish, but I think it's important to talk about ways of leading to a good session rather than just watching a good session, because you know it's all about learning, and little things make such a big difference in my opinion. So it is a very simple topic about keeping your bait cold at the end of the day, but there's things you can do which helps even more, which keeps the quality of bait, like I said, at its best possible level. So what I'll do now is run through all the things I do to, you know, keep my bait at its best quality through the day, especially when you're out for a full day. Like, you know, it's mid-May, we're coming to the summer months. Typically I do fish a little bit less, but I'll fish a full day rather than just go out for a few hours now. So obviously then you know you're out in it all day, so it's not long, it doesn't take long for things to defrost and then go mushy and not as good as what it could be. So I think now I'm going to get on with showing you what I do to up my chances of having a better session. Right, so being on the topic of frozen baits, obviously the first thing you're going to need is your cooler box. Now I don't want to say expensive cooler boxes, but I like good quality cooler boxes. Well, obviously they are expensive, but now these ones, you've seen me use them a lot on my channel. These are from South Africa, and unfortunately you can't buy them in the UK online because they're made over there. They're made in a factory by Mossel Bay, well, in Mossel Bay actually, and they are literally only sold there, so unfortunately you can't buy them in the UK. But I just love them. When I was over there, this is what they were using, and I was shocked how well the baits were staying frozen. And obviously over there it's hot, a lot more hot over here, and I just could not buy in a couple. So I got this one, and you would see me use one that's slightly smaller. The company is Go Frost Chillers, if you do want to have a look online, but you probably won't be able to find them. Well, I'd say you definitely won't be able to. If you do, let me know, because I want a couple more. So it's got a chopping board as a lid, which is my favorite thing about it, aside from the fact that it keeps baits frozen for hours. Like I gotta be fair, it's surprising how long it keeps them frozen for. They're really thick fiberglass walls with foam inside, and they got these little rings riveted on top with these little elasticated loops to keep it pinned down. But then moving on to the inside, I do this no matter what cooler box I'm using, obviously. And that is, I mean, the first things first to talk about actually, which I think is something that like 99.9% of the people I've ever fished with don't do this. And a lot of people I've spoke to about it, they say, oh, I can't be bothered, what's the point? But a cooler box will only keep in as much cold temperature as what you put in there. So for instance, I've got a pickup truck, so a lot of my cooler boxes and stuff and the buckets and all that I use stay in the back of my truck, or even if you're going to leave in your garage, in your house, wherever you're going to keep it. In the summer, it's typically going to be room temperature or warm when you first go to use it. So if you, like for me, if I pick this out the back of my truck, I take out one pack of Joey mackerel and stick it in there and go fishing, that cooler box is only going to keep the temperature as low as what you put in there, if that makes sense. So that pack of mackerel then is only going to get hotter, which obviously is then going to lead it to defrost. So what I do is I keep about a dozen of these small water bottles frozen in my freezer. Obviously frozen in my freezer it's going to be. So the night before I go, I don't necessarily do this if I'm going out for just a couple hours fishing, but if I'm going out for a full day, I'll get like 6 of these, and then I'll put them in the cooler box, close it, obviously strap the straps up, and I'll leave that overnight. So then in the morning before I go fishing, that cooler box temperature, well, the inside of the cooler box, the temperature is as low as it can be, and then whatever frozen baits you put in and the ice packs, it just makes sure that stays cold for hours. And that is, they are quite a good little tip, to be honest. You can buy ice packs that you just refreeze. They're good, but another really good benefit of those is the obvious one, that when you're out in the summer and you want a cold drink, they are very handy. So that is another little bonus, I suppose, of freezing your drinks down and using them as the ice packs. And when you're done for your session, you're not obviously going to keep anything cold unless you've got more baits to keep frozen, so you can just drink them, and then it saves weight. So if I was to not do that and I'd only have ice packs, I'd probably have about 8 of them in there, but also obviously it's 8 to carry back, whereas if I had 6 of them in there, that's 6 of them to not carry back because I've either spilt them or drunk them. So that is a little tip. You know, I know a lot of this stuff is, a lot of people say, is it really worth you talking about? But I think it is, because like I said, it just keeps the bait at its best for the longest. So another little thing, when I'm fishing, I do typically, I'm the kind of person to take a lot of types of bait fishing, not generally a lot of bait on its own, but just a lot of different types. So if I give you a little rundown of my favorite baits, and this is like an average, if I'm going off for 4 hours, I will take this amount of bait. So I'll take a pack of squid. I'll never ever ever go fishing without a pack of squid. And the next on the list is joey mackerel. They are amazing. Mackerel's probably one of the best baits. And then along with mackerel, sardines are obviously an excellent bait. And then another reason why mackerel and sardine are some of the best bait is because it's a natural bait. I mean, they live in UK waters, so fish are used to the scent. And that obviously is the same goes with sand eel, but I find sand eel, personally, I think they're overhyped, specifically for the ray fishing. I've outfished sand eel with other baits so many times, more times. If I was going to go out for the blondes or small eyes or something, and I had to pick one of them, I'd rather pick the mackerel personally. I find sand eel is an excellent bait, but on its day on certain venues. And another really good bait that I haven't been using for long is the little pilchards from Right Baits. They are excellent, actually. I never really used them, and I started using them over the past like 2 months, maybe a bit less, and they're brilliant. But they are probably, out of all your baits, along with sand eel and crab, which I should keep them back in there, is the top baits to make sure they stay frozen while you're fishing, because once they start to frost and go mushy, they're hard to bait up. And then obviously, being in the summer, you got your hounds, so some frozen crabs. Now those are just frozen in shell, whole, just as is, but I'll only freeze crab like that if I'm going to use it within a month of freezing it. If I'm going to freeze them down for a long period of time, I'll shell them off and I'll take the gills out and do it properly, which I'm going to do a video on that another time. And then another bait that I do take a lot in the summer when I'm fishing is a wrap of black lug. Now there's not many in there, but it's more so for the fact of if I don't have time to go and get fresh ragworm, then I can just take a bit of that. So if I want to try and catch some smaller fish for bait, it's just a little bit of worm. And if I don't finish using it, or if I don't even use it at all, I can just stay frozen. And obviously, quality baits. A lot of, obviously no one will know yet because I haven't said, but I've teamed up with Ryan at Right Baits now. So big shout out to Right Baits for putting me on the team. Much appreciated. Now, I'm not saying this because they've put me on the team. They are the best quality baits I've ever used by a long shot, especially the mackerel and sardines. The squid as well, I'm not saying it's not, but the mackerel and sardines are the ones I'll be most surprised by. And obviously then a good quality frozen bait will be able to be refrozen down if it's looked after right. So if I was to get these out of the way, now at the bottom of my cooler box, I'll always line them up with these shop bought ones, and they're great because they're thin. You can put a line of them along the bottom, and then stuff like your sandy or and your pilchards, like the thinner stuff, you can just literally lay them straight on top and it's directly on ice. And same with the frozen blacks. And I think really that does kind of cover it all. I can't really think of anything else major to say. Oh, another thing actually, when I'm baiting up my rigs, so if I reel in and then I cast back out and I rebait the rig up ready to be cast out, if it's hot, I won't hang it on my stand. What I'll do, I'll bait the rig up, drop the rig, well not the rig but the bait in the cooler box and keep it shut, because you'd be surprised even hanging your rig up on your stand, it just dries it out, all the juices end up running out of it. But if you bait up your bait when it's still partly frozen, it holds the juices in. I find you can mold it into a nicer bait a lot better and easier, and then when that's done I drop the bait in the cooler box to obviously make sure it stays cold. And I think, I mean, the only bait I think that I defrost completely before casting out is crab. I don't like to bait up crab when it's still partly frozen, because you'll find, for instance, if you were to peel the whole thing and then cut halfway up it and then pull it apart, they'll just snap in two. So I find crab myself, I defrost it completely. So another great thing to use is the little small thermos sort of cooler, like a thermos bottle. So they're really good, because you can fit like most of them, you can fit about a dozen crab in, which will do you for a hound session, and you can just take them out as and when you need them. And if you put some ice in there as well, like you can get the little small thin ice sticks, the refreezable ones, and then you can obviously take them out as and when you need them. And then if you have got any left, you can freeze them, because I will say crab is the only bait I won't ever freeze down if it's defrosted, because you'll find it has quite a strong smell to it. And this one bait that really doesn't work when it's off. It just, in my opinion, it's not even worth using. So if I always have 2 crab left and they're mush and they're no good, I just bin them. I don't even bother refreezing them. So I think that really does cover most of what I wanted to say. I can't really think of much else, and like I said, it's only a short video, so it doesn't need much said, but it's something worth saying, I think. So I think that covers everything I wanted to say. Not that there's been a lot to say, but what I have, in my opinion, what I have said is worth saying. So there's 2 things I wanted to talk about before I finish up, and that is sun cream. Sun cream, in my opinion, is one of the worst things to have on your hands when you're fishing, because that's scent, obviously going on your bait. When you think about it, you put sun cream in your hands and you rub it into your legs, your arms, your body, wherever you're putting it, and that means then your hands have had more sun cream rubbed into them than any other part of your body. So obviously that scent is going to last for ages in your hands, which I would never want on my bait. So I think it's always best to use a spray, so you're not actually using the palms of your hands to apply it. And then another one is washing anything fishing related that's going to have bait on it, like the lid of this cooler box, chopping boards, knives, scissors and all that. I don't wash them with soap, because again, it's the chemicals, it's the scents, which in my opinion won't lead to you catching fish. You will catch fish, but not, I think you'd be surprised how many fish will swim past your bait with that scent coming off of it. So yeah, like I said, it covers it all. There's not a lot to cover, but what I have covered I think is useful. And if you guys have got anything to say, drop it in the comments. You're more than welcome to give me a negative comment and disagree with it. Something for me to watch when I'm bored, read when I'm bored. But I think this is a topic that I think is hard to disagree with. It's one that definitely leads to you catching more fish. So as usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and also, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button, and I've also got something else on its way for you guys, which I cannot wait to bring out and offer for you all. So stay tuned for that. There's something really cool coming in the next month, I'm hoping. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.